Hi, everybody. Welcome to the February Supper Club. As you know, we are doing a series on reimagining well-being in a time of pandemic. And this month, we're looking at the physical aspects of that. Last month, we did the spiritual. And we will also look at the social and the
mental health.
Thank you very much. So this month, the physical, we know that that is a tricky subject to talk about. We all have, different ideas about that and different sense of our body issues. All those kinds of things are in there. So, but we also know it's really important. If we look at the overall constellation of our well-being, often it's the physical, right? That's it's the easiest to let go in some ways, or not pay attention to, but it just has a cascading effect. Just not getting a good night's sleep can so powerfully impact your mental health or your spiritual health. So,
and your relationships consequently. The physical well-being, as you said, it is tricky. When I hear it, when I think, I feel guilty, even just when I hear my physical health, I just assume people are saying that I need to exercise, which is always tricky for me, or at least hard to convince myself to do. It's not on the top of my list. But we do know, as you said, that it is so important that we are paying attention, not just to physical exercise, but to the way that we sleep and the way that we eat and how we abuse or overuse drugs or alcohol, these things that impact our bodies long term. I was reading an article that I read on the Mayo Clinic, a study done 6 months into the pandemic. So this was October 2020. And they were predicting at that point a second pandemic is what they called it. And what they meant was the second pandemic would be the backlash of mental and physical health, the depletion and the difficulty that we'll be experiencing through the pandemic in both of our physical and mental health. And they certainly 1 year later, those predictions came to fruition. And that was only a year into it. But what they were saying, and I kind of found this comforting in some way, in not a great way, but comforting that many people are wrestling with weight gain. I mean, this is just a real thing that they said 43% of the people that they had interviewed a year into the pandemic, 43% had gained 15 pounds or more.
Well, they teased about the COVID-19. Right?
I know, and so the health, that issue around weight gain, 67% said that they have sleep issues, sleep insomnia, or
stress of it all.
Having a hard time sleeping. Alcohol and drug usage was up 23%, and I've heard that from many people that it's
a lot
just
of my friends. I mean, you just hear it
so
come across.
easy to have another glass of wine.
When we were in lockdown, especially. I mean, you just felt so isolated. So the weight gain or alcohol use or other things seemed especially difficult or just ways to try to manage the stress of it all.
Right, and with the exercise, people lost access to gymnasiums. Many, lost
Doing
their
things with
exercise
friends,
partners or teams, sports that they experienced, and all of that kind of disappeared. And then when you feel isolated, it's hard to be motivated to do those things. So the report said that people had the indicators were that our well-being in regards to our physical health has taken a hit.
And the connection then again between, as you say, you're not as motivated to do the physical, and we know when we do the physical, exercise or something, then there's actual endorphins that get released that help your mental state, and so either that ball's rolling one way or the other way, and this pandemic has really made it challenging for us. There's a whole justice piece to this that we had been talking about too. If you think about folks if you're already on the edge of economic stress, right? If you're living in poverty or close to those poverty lines, and then you throw a pandemic on top of that. A lot of us had resources of time, resources of a basement we could go to get away from, when we were in lockdown, or our healthcare was in place, was robust enough that we could respond. And if you're already feeling the stress of that there's just no margin left,
Right.
and that's
You're on the edge.
what a lot of people experience. So it's just good for us to keep in mind too,
Yeah.
when we think about the physical impact of this. That this is probably, I think you were saying when we were talking, they've done some studies where this has set back
Right.
folks that aren't going to
Catch up. Right.
And
Right.
that's a sobering idea.
Yeah, and so the justice implications from that with the inequities that will be coming out of the pandemic.
Right.
But
That
we will
disparity
have to,
is the gap's even bigger.
exactly,
Yeah,
we'll have to address even greater issues
Right.
about that, yeah. Theologically, we are called and invited to treat our bodies with care because they're treasures that God has given us, that our bodies are houses of God and need to be respected. And it is very hard to see your body as something to appreciate as a gift from God. Much easier to be in war with the body,
But it helps. I mean, just to think about it that way, I think makes you think twice about how you're treating it. I mean, this is this is what's getting you around in the world. It's a really important part of, as we say, affects everything else. And to think of it as holy or sacred. I don't know. For me, it gives it a little different angle of, okay, do I really, need this third brownie right now, or whatever it is that I'm feeling like I need right now? Maybe it would help a little bit. But it's funny. We were talking about this subject feels so basic in some ways. Get enough sleep. Don't eat the third brownie.
Eat healthy.
Yeah, but it really is important because of that impact on everything else that we do, including our spiritual lives. I mean, being able to, pray or to show compassion towards someone, the kind of things we talk about in church, are a lot harder if you haven't slept or if you don't feel good about yourself, or so it's a gift of compassion to do this work. It's a gift. It's a part of our service to the world. I think. I don't think it's too big a stretch to say that. To take care of our own bodies. It's part of it. So.
And it is the way that we're going to come out of this pandemic in healthier ways, is to be attentive to how we're treating ourselves right now.
Right.
Right. So we have some questions for you for your time with your group. A couple of questions. There might be another.
Okay, we'll see.
Okay. The first question is just simply, how has the pandemic impacted your physical well-being? Just talk about that, and are any of these particular concrete ways that we identified weight gain or sleep issues or overeating, drinking, and how has your physical movement been during this time? What have you struggled with?
And then one that it may be a can of worms, but just if you get to it, thinking about what were the messages that you got about, your physical well-being or your body, or we all come with sometimes some good messages, but also a lot of baggage, I think, about all of this that impacts how we've responded in this pandemic to our physical well-being. So unpacking that together might be interesting too.
Yeah. Good layer. We wish you well. We hope that this is a good conversation to have.
Yeah. Have a great time.